Okay, so I'm gonna go over the study guide. I'm gonna try to do as many problems as I can. So I don't know how many I'm gonna do, to be honest. My goal is to try to get through the whole study guide right now, but I'm gonna do a few. Okay, what percent of the squares in the model below are not shaded? So I wanna look at not shaded, okay. So I'm gonna count how many are not shaded. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So I have 14 that are not shaded. Out of, how many do I have in total? Okay, so I'm going to count how many I have total. So if there's 4 in each row and there's 5 rows, so that means I have 20 in total. Now, I want the percent. So that means I'm trying to figure out the percent. So I need to set my denominator to 100. Okay, so I need to ask myself, 20 times what will get me to 100? 20 times 5, 14 times 5. So when I multiply 14 times 5, I get 70. So 70% of the model is not shaded, okay? Now, one of the things I really want you to do with that word not, especially when you see it on your test, when you see it on your mock star, if you see the word not anywhere, write it again, underline it, exclamation point, put a little squiggly line around it. Just make sure that you really, really know that it means not, okay? Okay, question number 2. The diagram of a living room is shown below. What fraction of the living room is covered by the rug? Okay, so if the shaded part below is my rug and I want it written as a fraction, it's really, really similar to question 1. So I need to count how many of the squares are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, so 20 of them are shaded out of, okay, well, what's my total? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 in each row, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 6 times 9 is my 54. Okay, one of the questions that I got is, do I need to simplify? Yes, anytime you see something that can be simplified, simplify it. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify, and I know there's not a lot of space. So if you have to use a different paper, I'm okay with you using a different paper. Okay, so 20 over 54. I'm going to see which of my rules does it follow. So do they both end in zeros? Nope. Does it end in a 0 or a 5? Nope. Do they both end in 2s? Yes. Okay, so if they're both, not in 2, sorry, even number. If they both end in an even number, which 0 is an even number, 4 is an even number, divided by 2. Divided by 2. 20 divided by 2 gives me 10. Can't really see it, but that's a 1. 10. 54 divided by 2 gives me 27. Okay, so my answer stays as 10 over 27. If you just write this, yes, you're technically right, but I want us to try practicing simplifying. Okay, it's never wrong to simplify. So yes, simplify. Okay, number 3 really got me when I did it, and then I had to redo it because somebody in my first period was the one that pointed out that I had done it wrong. So shout out to Ravenclaw, of course, because they caught it. So about 29% of the world's surface is covered by land. So 29% is covered by land. Shade the model below to represent the percent covered by water. The percent covered by water. I want to know how much is covered by water. Okay, well, if this is, there's 100 in this grid, right? It's a 10 by 10 grid, so there's 100 of them. So if 29% is covered in land, then I would just need to shade 29 squares, right? Because 29 out of 100 per 100. But they want to know the one that is shaded, that is covered with water. Okay, so 100 minus my 29 is equal to my 71. So 71 are shaded. 29% is land. And 71% is water. So I'm going to shade my 71%. So this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 71. Okay, because each of these rows is worth 10. So that's 70 and my 1. Okay, again, 71% is water, 29% is land, and together it is my 100%, which is the whole grid. Okay, so number 4. Using the 10 by 10 grid below, determine the decimal represented for the shaded portion. Okay, so I need to figure out what the decimal is. Well, I know I have 100, right? There's 100 of them, so I need to count how many are shaded. Well, this right here is 10. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So there's 29 out of 100 that are shaded. So if 29 out of 100 that are shaded, and I want to write it as a decimal, 0.29. And that's it, 29 hundredths. I'll write 29 hundredths as a decimal. Okay. Okay, number 5. Number 5 was kind of a weird question. So it says, the model below shows how much pizza is remaining. Circle all of the following numbers that do not represent the amount of pizza that is remaining. Okay, so I want to see which ones do not represent. Well, first let me show what does represent, right? Okay, so like we've been doing in the top, what is the fraction that has pizza? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces have pizza out of, let me see how many there is in total. So if there's 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Out of 12. Okay, so I'm going to go to my answers. Again, I'm looking for the ones that do not represent the amount of pizza. So I'm going to cross out the ones that do. So 4/12, that's correct. So A, that's correct. Let me put a check mark because that's correct, right? That is one way to write it. Okay, so that's not my answer. Now I have 1/4, which looks like a simplified version, right? So I'm going to simplify 4/12 and see if it gets me 1/4. Okay, they're both even numbers, so I can divide it by 2. Or let me just ask myself, what's another number that goes into both 4 and 12? Well, I know 12 is divisible by 4, and well, 4 is obviously divisible by 4. So I'm going to divide by 4. Divide by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, so then can 1/4 be an answer if it's 1/3 when it's simplified? No, it can't. So that's wrong. So that's one of my answers. Okay, now 1/3 as a decimal. 1/3 as a decimal is 0.3 ongoing. How did I get that? Okay, now that's one of those that you should have memorized. 1/3 should be memorized, but let's say we don't have it memorized, which is okay. I would do neato. Now, you can use your foldable tomorrow. So if you don't have your yellow foldable, make sure you write it down from somebody. That way you can get to use it during the test. Well, in your foldable, if you look it up, fraction to a decimal, use neato. So I'm going to do neato. I'm going to do it over here, okay? So I have 1/3. It's going to be 1 inside, 3 outside. Okay, I ask myself, 3 times what will get me 1? Nothing, right? Add a decimal, a 0. 3 times what will get me close to 10, not exactly 10, but close to 10. That's 3. That's 9. Subtract it and I get 1. I'm going to add a 0, go down. Well, I get 10 again, which is 3 again, which is 9, which is 1, which is 0. And I can keep going on forever, but I'm not going to waste my time, right? I'm just going to put the line over it. Okay, so if I look back to my answer choices, this is correct. D is correct. That is one way to write it. Okay, so then that can't be one of my answers. Okay, now 40%. I need to see, is 40% correct? Well, I already know to change a decimal to a percent, I just moved my decimal 2 times. 1, 2 times. That right here was a 3. So it should be 33%. So it's obviously not correct. C is not correct, which means that's one of my answers. Okay, so that's number 5. Number 6. Okay, 11. Oh, I see the number. I see the word. Scratch it out. Put the number. Just make it easy. 11 of the 20 students, sounds like part to whole, in Mr. Gonzalez's class, science class, are attending the field trip. What percent, so I'm looking for the percent, best represents the portion of the class that is attending the field trip? Okay, so this looks like I have a part to whole. Because I see percent in there. Okay, now the question is asking me for the percent, which means I don't know what the percent is. So I'm going to put an X. Okay, X marks the spot that I'm looking for. I'm going to put an X right where I see what the question is asking me. Well, over 100 because I don't know. Now, 11 out of the 20. Okay, so 11 must be my part and 20 must be my whole. Okay, I need to figure out the percentage. I could do this one of 2 ways. Okay, I could ask myself 20 times something gives me 100, sorry. 20 times something gives me 100. I can do it like that, and I think that might be easier. So I could do this. 100 divided by 5 is equal to 20, right? Divided by 5. So X divided by 5 is 11, right? There's a number that's divided by 5 that will get me 11. Well, let me just work backwards. What's 11 times 5? Well, that's 55. So then X is equal to 55. Okay? And let me check. I'm just going to check if it makes sense. If I were to put 55 right here, is 55 divided by 5 11? Well, yes, it is. So then that means 55% of the class is attending the trip. Is attending the trip. Okay. You could also, if you want, I'll erase that. You could have also done the butterfly. That's also another way. That's the way we did it. Right? I was just trying to make it a little bit easier. But if it helps you or it makes more sense to do the butterfly, you would do it like this. And it would be, wow, yeah, you guys are going to have to do it on another sheet of paper. 100 times 11 equals 20x times x. Okay, this right here gives me 1,100. 20 times x. So I'm dividing 1,100 by 20. Take away my zeros. And 110 divided by 20 is my 55. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole problem because I already did it. Okay, so that's one way you could do it. Or those are 2 ways actually that you can do it. Okay, number 7. This one also has 2 ways that you can write it. So Marvin has $1.45 in his pocket. What fraction is equivalent to the amount of money Marvin has in his pocket? So here, I'm going from a decimal to a fraction. Okay, decimal to a fraction. So I'm going to do it 2 ways, and they're both correct. Well, I have $1.45 over 100. So this goes up to my hundredths place, right? So I can put 145 over 100. And if you look at your foldable, one of the biggest things I said was make sure you simplify. So I'm going to divide it. They both end in a 5 and a 0. So I can divide it by 5. Divided by 5. 145 divided by 5 gives me 29. And 100 divided by 5 gives me 20. Okay, this is one of your answers. The other way you could have done it, we can see that that's an improper fraction, right? Because I have the larger number on the top, 29 over 100. Or I could have done, well, I have 1.45. So that means I have 1 whole and 45 over 100. Still have to simplify, but this one might be a little bit easier to simplify. Okay, ends in a 5 and a 0. Divide by 5, divide by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And my 100 divided by 5 is 20, which means this right here is 1, because you can't forget the whole number, and 9 over 20. Okay, these are both correct answers. Just one is written as a mixed number. The other one is written as a improper fraction. Both correct. I'll accept both answers. Okay, number 8. Okay, a stick measures 2 3/10 meters long. Write both the decimal and the percent equivalent to the length of the stick. Okay. Sorry, my mouth got dry. So I have 2 3/10. Okay, so I need to first ask myself, how am I going to write 2 3/10 as a decimal? Well, I know I have the 2 for sure. That's my whole number. And if you guys don't remember, we did a table like this at the very beginning of the year. I had a decimal here. I think I did too many lines. I had my ones place. I had my tenths. And I had my hundreds. Okay, so if I were to write this in, it would be 2. And I have 3 over 10. So it's going to go on my tenths place, right? 3. So this would be my decimal. 2.3. Make it smaller over here. 2.3. Okay, so that's the decimal. I got that part done. Now my percent. I need to write this as a percent. In your foldable, if you go back to review, which I really hope you guys are doing, to change a decimal to a percent, you can multiply by 100 or shortcut, move your decimal 2 times. So bloop, bloop, 2 times. I have an empty little loop, so I'm going to go in and add a 0. So I now have 230%. It is okay that it is a number larger than 100. It is okay. You just now have 230%. Okay? So I already have it as a fraction, decimal, and a percent. So we're good. Okay, let's go to number 9. A store is implementing a 5% increase on all of their prices. Write both the decimal and the fraction equivalent to the increase. So I have a percent, and I need to write it as a decimal and as a fraction. Okay, so I have 5%. Okay. As a decimal, and I just said it right now, if I want to go from a percent to a decimal, though, I'm going backwards. Okay, so percent to a decimal, it's the same thing as dividing by 100, or move the decimal 2 times to the left. 1, 2. Now, if some of you guys are like, wait, what decimal? Well, I put in a decimal right there, right next to the percent sign. I added my own. So I have an empty loop. Put a 0, so now my decimal is 0.05. Now, as a fraction, if I have 5%, 5%, 5%. Okay, do I want you to simplify? Yes, I want you to simplify just to practice. Okay, it ends in a 5 and in a 0, so I need to ask myself, what number goes into both 5 and 100? Think about your rules. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 100 divided by 5 is 20. They're both correct, okay? But I just want you guys to get into the habit of practicing simplifying, okay? Number 10. Okay, number 10, I really like this problem because it has a lot of stuff that we did the very, very first day of school. And this is a good review question for your mock star. So I have 0 to 1, and I need to determine which fraction fits at each point. Okay, well, think about my box. Okay, so I have this line right here. I have one line here, here, here. Okay, if it were to be a box, just make an imaginary, well, not imaginary because it's there, right? I have several parts. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. I have 4 parts, okay? Which means this right here is 1 part out of my 4. And we did this. I hope some of you guys are like, oh, I remember doing this. This one over here is the second one out of my 4. This is the third one out of my 4. And this right here is 4 out of my 4. Okay, so that gives me the answer to B. 1 out of 4. Okay, now, if you guys remembered, the very, very first lesson that we had a number line, we folded into 4, and then I asked you guys to fold that again in half, right? So you had it in 4, you folded it in half, and then you opened it up, and then there was more pieces. Okay, if you guys remember, you guys even can go back to that. If I were to split them all in half, I now have 8 pieces. So that makes this 1/8. This is 2/8. This is 3/8. 4/8. This is 5/8. 6/8. And this is 7/8. And then this one right here would be 8/8. Okay, so A would be, and I know this is super messy, 1/8. C would be 5/8. And D would be 7/8. Okay, we did this. This was the very, very first lesson. So this is a really good review for your mock also. Okay, now let's go to 11. If the strip diagram below represents 100%, then determine the value of the other representations. Okay, so for each one, first I want to see what it is as a fraction. So here I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 shaded out of 5. 3 shaded out of 5. I want it as a percent. So I need it over 100. Yeah, this is not going to be enough space. Okay, 5 times what gives me 100? Times 20. So 3 times 20 is 60. So this one right here is 60%. Okay, I'm not going to do all of these because I want you guys to do some of these. Let me do D because D looks a little bit weird. Okay, so if I have the whole thing, all of this equals to 1 whole. So then that means here I have 1 whole that is shaded. Okay, so now let me go to the next part. So I have 1, 2, 3 out of 4. And I need to get it to 100 because I need to figure out the percent. So 1 whole is 100% also, right? Okay, so 4 to 100. I remember I told you guys memorize the fourths. All of the fourths. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Think about quarters. So that is, think about quarters. There's 25 cents in 1 quarter. So 4 times 25 is 100. 3 times 25 is 75. So if I have 100 plus another 75, altogether, this is 175%. Okay? Let me go down to the next one. Complete the missing values by writing the equivalent percent. So I'm going to see 0 is 0%. So I know this right here is going to, if this is 1/10, this is 2/10, 3/10, this is 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 1. So this right here is my 100%. Okay, so 1/10 I want to know what is the percentage of 1/10 percent per cien. Okay, so I need to get it to 100. 10 times 10 is 100, so 1 times 10 is 10. So this right here is 10%. Well, if I'm increasing by 10%, I can kind of see a pattern here. This is going to be 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%. Okay? And with just one, you can already figure out the other one. Okay, now over here, complete the missing values by writing the equivalent percent. So I have 1/3. I want to figure out what it is as a percent. I did this one already, okay? I did this one up here. See how I had 1/3? I told us already what the percent was. So I'm not going to go and do the whole math again. These, like I said, let's try to start memorizing them. So this is 33%. So this is 33%. This is 66%. Okay. Number 14, I am not going to do all of them. I'm only going to do a couple of them. Okay. So I have the percent. So I'm going to go from a percent. Let me do it to let's do it to a fraction first. Okay. 60% per cien. 60 over 100. Okay, I see that it both end in zeros. So I'm going to divide by 10. Or just cross out my zeros and I end up with 6 over 10. They're both even numbers, so I can still simplify that. If you just put it over 100, I'm okay with that. I just want you guys to practice the division. Sorry, the simplification. Okay, so 6 and 10, they're both even numbers. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. 6 divided by 2, I get 3/5. So 3/5 as a fraction. My percent, 60%. Now my decimal. Okay, remember, percent to a fraction. Sorry, percent to a decimal. Move your decimal 1, 2 times to the left. 0.60. And then you guys can follow the patterns for the rest. I'm not going to do all of them. Okay, number 15. During rush hour, Jeffrey counted that he had to stop at 8 different red lights. He went through a total of 25 intersections. What percent of the intersections did he stop at? So I'm trying to find the percent. So I have my part to whole equals blank equals blank. Okay, if I am looking for percent, if that's what the question is asking me, I'm right away going to put my X there. X marks the spot that I'm looking for. Okay, so 8 different red lights. He went through a total keyword of 25. So I know 25 is my whole. Put this over 100. And I'm looking for, no, sorry, my part is 8. Now I got to go ahead and do my butterfly. You could do your butterfly, or some of you guys might notice the 25 to 100 rule. You can do that. But I'm going to do the butterfly for those of you that, can't see that right away. Okay, so I have 100 times 8 equals 2. 25 times X. Then I get that from this. This comes from this. If you guys want to use your different highlighters, I'm okay with you using that. Tomorrow I'll lend you guys highlighters if you need to. Okay, 100 times 8 is 800 is equal to 25 times X. Okay, so 25 times some number is going to give me 800. So I need to work backwards, and now I'm going to do 800 divided by 25. Which is 800 divided by 25. Okay, so This is a part that takes a little bit of time. So 25, does 25 go into 8? No. Does 25 go into 80? Yes. Okay, so I need to check how many times. So 80, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, 800, how many times can 25 go into 800? Well, I know that'll go 3 times, right? Because that's 75. That gives me a 5 and a 0. 25 goes into 50 2 times. So x equals 32. So to answer my question, 32%. Or he stopped at 32% of the intersections. And that's my answer right here. Okay. So I did most of them. You still have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. I will see if maybe I can upload a video of those later on. But as of right now, this is, I guess, part 1. So questions 1 through 15 are already done. Go ahead and work on 16, 17, 18, and 19. Follow the patterns. So for all of them, you already know you're going to set up part to whole. And you guys did really awesome today in today's class from setting it up. Blank, part to whole. And I just need to check, what are they asking me to solve for? That's where my x goes. What information are they giving me? Am I given a percent? If I do have a percent, right away I'm going to put it over 100. Okay, and so on. Okay, so here it is done. I hope you really guys study this, go through this. If you have any questions, you can still message me. I'm really hoping this helps with our test tomorrow, and not only our test tomorrow, but also the mock star. So also start going through, old foldables that you might have, old do nows that you might still have. Hopefully some of you guys still have them. And that way we can start preparing for the STAR test. Sorry, the mock STAR test.